Jesse Marcel was the first official to arrive at the scene at the Roswell UFO crash site on July 7, 1947, on Corona Ranch, about 30 miles north of the town of Roswell, the home of the 509th Bombing Squadron at the Roswell Army Air Field, home base for the first nuclear squadron in the United States, and home to Enola Gay that dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima in August 1945. He was able to describe in detail the debris scattered across 10 football fields, including what he described as tinfoil, like metal pieces that were light as feather yet unbreakable. You couldn't tear them apart, and if you crumbled them, they sprung back to their original position. A day later, the base commander at the Roswell U.S. Army Air Field issued a press release that they had recovered a flying saucer in the desert north of Roswell. The story swept across the nation, making headlines. Roswell Daily Record front page read, "Roswell Army Air Field captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell Region." This was also when General Roger Ramey swept in from Texas, taking over the recovery efforts in Roswell and shutting everything down. He classified all material and biological findings and information regarding the findings as top secret, which meant no one could speak about it or face consequences. His objective was to shut down any public inquiry into the incident immediately. Ramey ordered everything shipped off to Fort Worth, Texas Army Airfield, and Jesse Marcel accompanied the debris and the crashed saucer on that flight. And later in the day, he found himself posing with tinfoil, wood, and plastics from a torn-up weather balloon, following the orders of General Roger Ramey, claiming it was all a case of a mistaken identity. What they found the day before in Roswell was misidentified, and all it was the debris of a crashed weather balloon. And then he posed for the reporters, holding up weather balloon debris in a now infamous photo. In February 1978, UFO researcher Stanton Friedman interviewed Jesse Marcel, where he recounted the truth of the story, the debris and the bodies, and that the weather balloon was a make-up cover story, a lie, he said. Most of his contemporaries, including General Ramey, had passed on by then. Before his death in 1986, Jesse Marcel went on record stating what he encountered was not a weather balloon, but a crashed UFO. In this footage, the rarest of rare events, Jesse Marcel traveled with a camera crew to the Corona Ranch to recall the fateful day in July 1947 near Roswell, a day that changed human history. Let's listen to Jesse Marcel.
Roswell was then home to the world's only nuclear air wing, including the B-29 that had dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The base's chief intelligence officer, Major Jesse Marcel, was dispatched to the ranch to investigate.
We had to follow the rancher out there. Just verbal directions that we know and found it.
Marcel and another officer were the first military to arrive at the crash site. They came upon an expanse of unrecognizable debris strewn across an area the size of a dozen football fields.
There was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. We found a piece of metal about a foot and a half to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. The thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't bend it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off it.
Marcel was ordered to immediately transport the strange wreckage to Fort Worth Army Air Field. There, Marcel was met by the commanding general, who told him to keep silent in the face of what was becoming a media frenzy.
They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that.
Marcel was instead ordered to pose with wood, foil, and rubber debris from a conventional weather balloon.
All I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Raymond is the one who told the newspapers what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, which we both knew differently.
Colonel Thomas DuBose, who was also ordered to pose with the fake debris, describes how an iron curtain of secrecy slammed down.
This is the highest priority you can accept, and you will say nothing. More than top secret, as he said it. Beyond that, this is the story we're going to tell the public. It was a cover story, the balloon part of it. In order, we don't have any more inquiries about what we picked up on.
They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted they wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Raymond is the one who discussed or told the newspapers, the newsman, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, which we both knew differently. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't bend it, even though the sledgehammer would bounce off it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was. It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of. Because I was being an intelligence officer, I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and in our air travel. This was nothing like that. It could not have been. It could not have been.